Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very warm welcome to World This Morning. I'm your host Hajra Satti, and joining me is my wonderful co-host who also happens to be one of my mentor here in PTV World. He is Fahim Bangesh. Assalamu alaikum Fahim. How are you doing today?
Walaikum assalam. Very well, thank you, Hajra. It's always a pleasure hosting the morning show.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So since it's the World Food Day and the theme of that day is water is life, water is food, leave no one behind. And before we kickstart our segment, there are certain factual figures that I would like to share on this World Food Day that were released by United Nations World Food Program report back in 2023, which is Pakistan has been ranked 99 out of 129 according to the Global Hunger Index, and the report mentioned that it is a toxic cocktail of the conflict, climate change and COVID pandemic that has left millions vulnerable inside Pakistan. And obviously when we talk about the security paradigms, when we talk about the evolution of the countries, especially in the 21st century, we would find that the traditional paradigms of the security of progress are evolving, and they are more evolving towards a more paradigm where they're investing on the human security, right?
Yes.
And one of the component of the human security is the food security, because in the coming days, and I think last year we witnessed that how climate change and the flood, which has sought so much destruction across the entire Pakistan, has
Hajra, not just in Pakistan, I think we're witnessing that now in the entire world, because the effects of climate change are now being witnessed all over the globe. And food security is something which each and every country now has to think about and keep in consideration, and keep climate change, because climate change has now become a reality. And everything related to food is related to climate in the end.
Right. And obviously we are going to further discuss these figures, these statistics and the United Nations World Food Program report, because it mentions South Asia as one of the region that is suffering from the higher levels of hunger and the child stunting which is going on through, and the vulnerability which it leaves behind, especially among the marginalized population, among the vulnerable groups, and how it has a very gendered impact on the food, because we see especially when in the agriculture, women are employed and they come under the invisible economy, where the contribution is not that much counted in the formal GDP of the country. And we want to develop this conversation further, but we would like to introduce a very worthy guest that have graced us in our studio, and certainly we are very delighted that we are going to kickstart a very intellectual cross-pollination of the ideas and debates. So without any further ado, we are very glad that we have been joined by Dr. Ker Abdullah Malik. He is the Federal Minister of the National Food Security and the Research. He is a renowned agricultural scientist and an educationist, and he has dedicated his life towards this field, and certainly he is very well versed among this field. So assalamu alaikum sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you.
And a very good morning, sir.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you. And our second guest is the representative of Food and Agriculture Organization in Pakistan, Ms. Florence Rowe. Ms. Florence, welcome to Pakistan and welcome to PTV World, and good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you.
Right.
To you as
Joining
well.
Ms. Florence, we're also very glad that we have been graced by Ms. Coco Oshiyama. She has joined World Food Program Pakistan, and she's the new representative and the country director. Welcome to our show, ma'am, and thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Good
Right.
morning.
Right, and starting off with you, Ms. Coco, we know that Pakistan is a water-stressed country, and now what Pakistan is going through in these days, we know that food is something of vital importance when it comes to Pakistan, when it comes to the majority of the population of Pakistan. We know our economy is an agro-based economy. Now, how would you comment on the usage of water? Because we know we have floods every year. We know there is no saving of water. We know how what Australia is doing. We know what the West is doing as far as the water saving. It's the rainwater especially. So how would you comment on the food security in Pakistan and the future of the food security in Pakistan?
Thank you. Food security in Pakistan and water is very much linked in Pakistan, but also globally. Water is not only about life-saving, but it's also life-sustaining, it's life-enriching. So this year's theme of World Food Day, Water is Life, Water is Food, is a very appropriate one. I think what we are increasingly seeing, as you've also mentioned, is that nexus of water, food, energy, and ecosystem. Obviously, it's also very much linked to agriculture and production, but water is very much linked also to the well-being of each and every one of us in Pakistan and again globally. So for us, availability of water is critical, but so is the quality of water and the access to that quality water, which is very much again linked to nutrition, malnutrition, stunting, as we see is one of the highest in Pakistan, in the world. So for us, the goal is available food through sustainable use, but also ensuring the access of quality water to all. As mentioned already, leave no one behind.
Right. Thank you so much for very succinctly putting out there. So Dr. Kauser, we will come to you. And according to United Nations report on the World Food Program, we've seen that the staple of this country is wheat, right? And we've seen that the affordability and the accessibility of the wheat, which is a staple food of this country, is not in the range, especially of the vulnerable and the marginalized segments of the society. So how do you think, as a government representative, we can make it more accessible and we can make more affordable to the lots of people out there, because the shrinking consumption power of the lots of people means that the inflation rate is going higher, right? So how can we make them more food secure in this perspective?
Well, I think you have asked a very comprehensive question to see if we need a lecture on this.
Right.
But anyway, you know, the food security paradigm is not well understood, you see, you know. Food security is not, you know, security of the food, that you get food and all that. It involves, you know, the food availability has to be ensured, food accessibility has to be ensured, and food affordability has to be ensured. So these all factors we normally, from agriculture point of view, we generally concentrate on availability part. You see, you know, we want to see that higher yields of our crops and all that. That is not sufficient, you see.
Right.
That is absolutely not sufficient, because the definition of the food security involves these availability, affordability, accessibility, and one of the important component of that is that the food has to be nutritious, it has to be safe.
Right.
These are two factors which normally are not taken into account. And then based on these definitions, you know, the last UNICEF survey, you know, which was done on the food security part, they come out with a figure of about 48% food insecure. You know, that means that people are not getting food according to their healthy requirements, you see, you know. So these are the things that the government has to take into account, that how to beat all that, and that is not only for the Ministry of Agriculture or Food Security, etc. It encompasses all the ministries, you see. It encompasses the commerce, the industry, the, you know, climate change ministry and all that. So we are trying to look at the whole situation in a very holistic manner, you see, and therefore, I mean, we have several interventions, you see. For example, the food has to be nutritious, and for that there have been a lot of research going on, and then, you know, some for all the biofortified crops, you see. That is, we have an acute deficiencies of zinc and iron in our food, you see, you know. And so that deficiencies are result of, you have mentioned stunting and wasting and all that. These are the result of these deficiencies, you see. So we have been trying to incorporate these elements into our food, into our crops, you see, which are edible part of it, you see. So this is one intervention that can be done. And you might have also heard that iron fortified atta.
Yes.
You see, that is precisely because to meet the deficiencies of iron in our population, which are more acute in female population. Similarly, one of our success stories have been in salt, iodized salt. You see,
Right.
you might have heard that especially in the northern areas, there was a lot of goiter, incidents and just by introducing iodized salt, that was taken care of. So similar, there are other interventions with government has always been trying to make in order to meet that. But all the things that you say that Pakistan is on the so lower, and these are so many other factors. You see, so many other factors which we all are trying to overcome now.
And inshallah, yes,
inshallah.
We are hoping for better days to come. Ms. Florence, now I'd come to you, and before we develop further this very meaningful dialogue on the water, food security, feminization of the poverty and the gendered aspect of that, I would really like to compliment you on wearing such a wonderful upper, because that reminds me of our traditional aspects of our society. So, Ms. Florence, let's talk about how the flooding last year impacted, and it has impacted badly the women who are employed in the agriculture sector, right? And it has created a lots of, I would say, feminization of the poverty, because their agriculture were destroyed. We went there as a team, we reported from the flood hit areas, and we've seen that how food, that particular area was rendered food insecure, because the entire crops were washed out in such a massive floods, and Pakistan suffered $30 billion of the losses in the climate crisis, which is obviously of not our making, right? So on this World Food Day, how do you think we can make a more climate resilient economy that is also food secure in the first place?
So thank you for the questions. So the floods of last year reminded Pakistan of the importance of the Indus basin.
Yes.
And climate change, of course, is one of the causes, but it's not the only one. So the impact that these rains and the floods had is a result of climate change, but also a result of, development mistakes, which have made the impact even worse. So the first thing is the importance of the river. The river, the basin, the Indus River basin for Pakistan. I think, it hosts more than 80% of the population. It produces most of the food of Pakistan, because 80% of the food produced is irrigated, and the Indus basin is the source of the irrigation. It has the largest cities of Pakistan. So in a bad situation like last year, at least there is always opportunities, and the opportunities is to bring back the importance of the safeguarding, restoring and safeguarding these ecosystem.
Right.
And that's why, you might have heard the Prime Minister at the UN General Assembly who quoted one of the initiatives, which is called the Living Indus initiative, as one important element of, as exactly what Minister was saying, encompassing all the sectors in order to bring a solution. And I've got
wonderful.
this, I brought it to mention it to the audience.
Right. Okay, so and what sort of plans does the FAO has to commemorate this day? Because you're talking about, and the theme surrounds it regarding the water, and obviously it's one of the very essential component of living when it comes to the human life. So would you care to elaborate how FAO wants to celebrate this day or observe this day in the first place?
So the World Food Day was established in 1979 by the member states of FAO, so all the countries at that time which were member of the organization. And it's the anniversary of the establishment of FAO in in 1945. But what is more important is it's a day where we celebrate and we raise awareness on the importance of food all over the world.
Right.
And it's an occasion to take action. And to take action, not only, you know, government is taking action throughout, it's there, but to take action by the communities, by all citizens, by Pakistanis. So this year, you know, we have innovated all together.
Right.
And we're not going to celebrate it in Islamabad. Okay. We're going to go to the field and to celebrate it in Jamshoro. So why Jamshoro? Because of the link between water and food.
Wonderful.
And because of the importance of the Indus and the importance of having a clean Indus to produce a clean food, but also clean drinking water for everybody.
Right.
So we want to do a clean Indus.
Wonderful.
Ceremony. So the idea is we launch a campaign of cleaning the Indus on this day in Jamshoro, and all over, you know, from the mountain to the delta, there will be cleanup events throughout.
And you're collaborating with different organizations in this regard?
With different organizations, with the municipalities, of course, you know,
the
local
communities.
The local communities.
Yes.
So our wish is that we use many of these UN international days related to water, like Environment Day, you know, the Water Days, etc., to continue that effort, so that, you know, Pakistani take care of what is their life.
Right.
That's true, because Pakistanis do depend on the water, as we are an agro-based economy.
On that. Yes.
Yeah, true that. 70% of our bodies are water.
That's true.
Now, moving on to Ms. Coco, we know we're talking about floods of the 2022. We're talking about the Pakistani nation and overall food programs. We know how resilient the Pakistani nation is. We know how Pakistani nation stands up after each and every disaster, be it the deadly earthquakes of 2005 or the 2022 floods. They have been resilient, they have stood up, and they have started living like they were supposed to live. Now, what is exactly the World Food Programme doing to assist different communities to build more and more resilience? Because obviously we're watching the climate change show its effects on different parts of the world, including Pakistan. Pakistan definitely is one of the most vulnerable areas in that regard. So we have to build different programs to build more and more resilience. So what exactly is the World Food Programme's contribution there?
Thank you. And I must say at the outset, the resilience of Pakistanis have been something that because I'm relatively new to Pakistan, I've been watching from outside and very much impressed. But the sense of urgency to further build the resilience, both from the community side but also the system side, is becoming much more urgent. For WFP, we support communities to build resilience by restoring ecosystems, to improve water availability and food access in the long term. These activities are often involving infrastructure development, such as building or repairing roads, bridges, irrigation systems, which in turn improve food security and create sustainable livelihoods. We have also other examples. For example, over 800 households were sheltered from devastating floods in 2022 by the flood protection wall built in Balochistan as part of our Food Assistance for Assets program. This wall protected the houses of 15 villages as well as apple orchards, limiting the disruption to the livelihoods following the floods. So what we do is we respond as WFP, of course in collaboration with our government partners, provincial partners, but also we build resilience, especially at community level. We also build the resilience of systems. This is about food systems, supply chain. We're actually also collaborating very closely with NDMA and PDMA to be able to respond, but prepare for for that big response to come. So it's at all levels, building the resilience from the community level, the people, to the systems provincially, but also national level. But I think the key operative word is in partnership and in readiness.
Lovely, lovely.
Wonderful. And Doctor, I'm sorry I'm interjecting here, but I think this is a very urgent question. And Dr. Malik Saab, I would like to throw that to you, which is that United Nations report, which was prepared in collaboration with World Food Programme. It mentioned that in Pakistan, there are 8 million people who are experiencing the high levels of acute food insecurity, right? And as a government representative, what is your plan to tackle this pandemic? Because obviously food insecurity is a big problem to tackle in the first place.
The first step in all this is to increase the availability, you see. You know, the food has to be available, you see. And for this purpose, I mean, you should also keep in mind that every year we have more than 6 million people, more people to feed them, you see.
Yes, yes.
I mean, the one that is ignored is our population growth, you see, you know. Until unless we control that, I mean there's a limit to increasing the availability, you see, you know.
Right.
I mean, we are thankful to God, you see, that, you know, I mean, we have been beating that challenge up till now, you see. You know, last year we had about 28 million tons of wheat, you see. I mean, keep in mind that wheat is our food security crop, you see.
That's
we
true.
cannot ignore that. I mean, if there is a shortage of wheat, then there is all turmoil, you see. You
True.
know?
Of course.
So we are putting all our attentions, you see, to wheat, you see, and last year, as I said, and this year we hope our targets are that to go to about 30 million tons of wheat, which should suffice our 240 million population, you see. I mean, this is the recognized figure now, that our population is 240 million, and basing on that, we calculate all our demands for food, you see. And so we hope and pray that everything goes well, and you know, because agriculture is all dependent on environment, on climate, you see. That is the sector which is affected immediately, you know, if there is any change and all that, you see. So we are trying our best, you know, to meet these targets, and if there is any shortfall, we have to import, see. And that import, you see, I also want to educate our audience as well, that in agriculture, importing and exporting is a normal process, you see. It does not mean that if we import something has gone wrong, you see, you know. But we normally import to safeguard our strategic reserves, you see. We have to maintain our strategic reserves all the time, you see.
Of course, of course.
And also, Doctor, being, I mean, as agriculture scientists and educationists, don't you think we should encourage more and more people to get into the field of horticulture and create more job opportunities for them in order for us to increase the produce and increase the accessibility of people to food?
That's absolutely right. This is the other aspect, you see. You know, once we have to ensure food security from the availability point of view, then these are all areas where we can increase the employability, we can increase our export markets, you see, and overall horticulture is a very important area, and we are giving utmost importance to horticulture as well, you see, and with export orientation, you see, you know. I mean, and you see, Pakistan is endowed with so many resources, you see, you know, in horticulture also, starting from Balochistan, date palm to, you know, even now you go to any market, anywhere, you see, they are full of fruits, you see, you know. In spite of everything, you see, you know, we have to arrange something, you know, in order to encash that, in order to I mean, the other important thing in terms of the food day is the wastage, you see.
Yes, of course.
According to FAO and according to the international organizations, globally 40% of the food is wasted.
Yes.
and Pakistan is not an exception. Here it must be even more than 40, you see, and that wastage starts from the harvest. When you harvest, this because of the lack of storage, there is wastage. Because there is overall lack of storage, and you will see all the fruits and vegetables and all that. I mean, a lot of that is wastage. So these are things that if we can take care of those and manage them, we can meet all our demands. You see, I'm basically very optimist. You see, and I think if we can organize ourselves, because it is all management issues, you see.
Right, of course.
You see, I mean, there is not much money involved. I mean, if you manage yourself, it doesn't cost you much, you see.
Of course.
But it creates a lot of opportunities then, you see.
And Ms. Florence, coming to you, so let's explore the intersection of food security, food production, agriculture, and how does water factor into that entire equation, because Pakistan is generally was considered to be an agrarian economy, but now it has been superseded by the service production, but agriculture does constitute an important backbone of our GDP of the country's economy in the first place. So please.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just jump on the on the minister's response about this importance of horticulture, the potential.
Right.
Let me just inform that for during this week, which is the World Food Day week, in Rome, there is a very important event which is called an investment forum on for the agriculture sector. And 30 countries have been invited, and Pakistan is one of them. And a Pakistan delegation is going to present the potential of investment in the agriculture sector in the country. And horticulture crops like tomato, onions, apple, etc. have a huge potential for domestic and export. And there are a delegation of private sector as well going to Rome and making, that matchmaking between the needs and who could come and invest.
Right.
So I think it's in a positive, it's going forward, and a lot is happening on this area of agriculture investment. Coming back, you want me to come back to the question about the water and the food?
Yes.
So, I mean, here, this country is extremely privileged. 80% of the production is irrigated.
Right.
You go to Africa, it's 2%, 3% in some countries.
Okay.
So, irrigation means water. So, you cannot dissociate water and agriculture in Pakistan. Issue is, we need to think also about agriculture is a source of pollution of the water.
Right.
Okay.
We don't speak about it a lot.
Yes.
And we should.
Okay.
And there is very, very limited research going on in Pakistan. I don't know, Minister, whether you would agree with me on this issue. And we really need to look at that because it has an impact on health, etc.
And would you like to care to elaborate, how agriculture is actually contributing towards the pollution which you mentioned?
So it's through the pesticides and the inputs, pesticides and fertilizer. The big issue is to bring the exact amount of inputs that a crop requires, based on the climate, based on the soil, based on all the factors of production. And this is where, there is a potential with digitalization. We speak about digitalization of agriculture. And this is part of the solution to ensure there is no leakage of these inputs into the soil and into the water table in the end.
Right. So, Dr. Malik, I would come to you because Ms. Florence alluded to the fact that agriculture is a source of pollution, and that reminded me of Sharm el-Sheikh conference that happened in the COP base, which talked about the nature-based solutions, right? And there's this drive generally and discourses around the world that how we need to revert back to the nature, right? So do you think that as a minister, we are also focusing towards towards the nature-based solutions, and obviously pesticides and insecticides were not there before the industrialization went on, but the food was being produced, agriculture was being done.
That's right.
Right.
You see, this is a generally, held concept with many of the naturalists, you see, that, it used to be, there were no fertilizers, there were no pesticides even then, but then the population was not that, the figure that we have now.
Yes.
I mean, but anyway, but most important thing is, I mean, as Florence also mentioned, we were talking about the Indus, clean Indus, clean Indus, and I was all the time thinking, that no city of Pakistan has a waste treatment plant.
Yes.
This is the irony, you see. Yes. This is the irony. How can you keep the Indus clean, you see?
Of course.
The entire effluent is going into the rivers, you see, which obviously forms Indus, and then all that, you see, And I have been involved with the Ravi Pollution Control Commission. We were trying to, Lahore, for example, has 13 drains, and all ending up into Devadavi without any treatment.
Oh my God! Right.
This is I have been clamoring, to every agency, and now since I can't say that, since I am in the government, so we will try. You see, for keeping it clean, you have to clean. The water, the waste water, before it is being dumped into the river. You see.
That's true.
And therefore, I strongly feel that if we manage our water resources scientifically and judiciously, we have enough water, you see. This bogey of scarcity of water is there, but that I don't agree that if we use them in agriculture also, agriculture consumes nearly 80% of all our available water, you see.
Yes.
So from that 80%, if we can save, say, 10% even, or 20%, that's a sizable saving, you see, and that can be done very easily by employing the scientific techniques, by then leveling, by levelers, by avoiding the flood irrigation, instead of that having those bonds, and all that.
Right, that needs to be encouraged,
so that we are trying through our agriculture extension, through our all bodies, to implement those, and they are being implemented. But the waste water, I am personally very much keen that we should have waste treatment plants in every city, especially in Lahore, Islamabad and Karachi. You see, Islamabad also doesn't have, there was one in Dawal Dam ke paas, somewhere,
right,
but that is also not functional, you see, So this is a campaign
I think we need to focus more on that area as well. You're quite right, sir. Moving on to Ms. Coco, well, since it's the World Food Day, we would like you to give us one key message, a very succinct message to all the viewers who are watching us right now, as far as the WFP is concerned, what it's doing, what are the future plans, and what is the message for the rest of the world?
Thank you. For us, it's really about water is life, food is life. Water and food really is leading to shared prosperity, whether in Pakistan or globally. Shared prosperity also means shared responsibility.
Of course.
So really, let us engage locally, globally. I understand there's a new English word, glocal.
Yes.
But global engagement for better water security and food security. As mentioned, climate change is here to stay with us.
Yeah.
We also have to invest in mitigation, that we'll need to adapt faster. And water and food is a key area that we can unite to adapt, as I said, at community level, systems level, but let us unite and aim for that shared prosperity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ms. Coco, for giving us your time. And viewers, we will be back after a short break. You guys stay tuned with us. Keep watching PTV World. Welcome back to World This Morning with Hajra Sati and Fahim Bangash, and we have with us the Honourable Minister for Food Security and Research, Dr Ker Abdullah Malik, and with him we have Ms Florence Roll with us. Now, my question to you, Ms Florence, now, you've been all over the world. This is your third year in Pakistan, and like we were talking, the international lens, the external lens with which you watch a country, observe a country is totally different than what you actually experience in person. So as far as food, water, scarcity, agriculture and all the practices are concerned in Pakistan, how did you find them over here up till now in your experience?
Because there's a lot of focus on organic farming here in Pakistan that I would like to, take real pride in Pakistan.
Yeah.
There's not that much of genetically modified food here.
Yeah, but genetic modified food, let me respond, and organic food is very different.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
So, for me, the big difference, Pakistan is an extremely rich country in terms of agriculture. I've been in countries where, you look at the country, you look at the agriculture sector and you say, oh, it's going to be difficult to develop because there is no water, soil fertility has totally decreased. So you really are struggling, as an FAO representative, how can I support the government and the country? Here in Pakistan, the endowment is incredible. The first, statistic, which is really impressive in Pakistan, is the 80% of your agricultural land, which is irrigated.
Yes.
Right.
Okay, so water is key for producing food, and you've got water. Of course, there is a whole issue of water scarcity coming in, but mainly because of the population growth, and mainly because you're not using the water in an efficient way.
That's right.
But you have a huge endowment. In Pakistan, from the north to the south, you can plant anything. It will work out. And for example, FAO is working at the moment with the government on tea, potential of tea production.
Right.
So, and we looked at, for the moment, we just look at the suitability of your soil, etc., for tea plantation. And in the north, I can tell you, you've got the possibility, the potential.
Right.
Then the whole economics have to come in. So then we will see how it works. But in terms of endowments, it's a rich country. And I'm not sure internationally people know about that.
That's very true. Thank you so much for saying that. Dr. Saab, now coming to you, Dr. Saab, and we've seen that, like she alluded to the fact that the northern areas, they're called the third pole of the country because the amount of the snow or the water which is captured there is such a huge amount. There are the water reservoirs or the water tank of the Pakistan, and from there the Indus water flows and it irrigates the entire country. But with the climate change and with the changing environment, we are seeing these abnormalities of the changing seasonalities of the nature going on, right? How can we make sure that the water is more secured, and obviously that factors into our food security, in our food production, and do you think that enough research is being carried out, especially when
adding on to your question, Hajra, because there are, I did watch some of the documentaries on different areas of the world where each and every household is built in such a way that they have to store the rainwater. And because rainwater is pure and they store it and then they use the rainwater, it doesn't go to waste like it does in Pakistan, which is obviously whenever it rains, whenever I see the water draining down, it's always a matter of huge concern.
Wastage,
because the population is growing at an alarming rate, we're short of water and the water is being wasted.
So you have answered all your questions, you see. You see, you're absolutely right. You see, the glacier melt is all dependent on the temperature, on the rise in temperature, and all that water that flows, eventually goes to the sea. You see, that is and also the rain water and everything, goes eventually to the sea after causing huge floods and everything. You see,
True.
we put nearly 35 million acre feet into the sea every year, you see, and that water, our contention has always been that water should be saved, you see. And how do you save that? You see, we have to build small dams all over the country, you see. I mean, we go for big dams, you see, and that obviously takes a lot of time and money and all that. But for smaller dams, it doesn't cost that much, you see. And that storage facility has to be made, you see. That yesterday also we had a long meeting of SIFC,
right.
About 9 hours meeting, and one of them, we discussed so many things, you see, but one of the things was mentioned was, to have about small dams and things like that to conserve water in whatever way we can, you see. So this is the only solution to this. And some of the climate change, we have no handle on it. We cannot, that is there, you see.
Yes.
We have to adopt to that or mitigate, you see, So, I mean, we have some mitigation technologies in agriculture also, and adaptation also, but, that has to be done in a very coordinated manner, you see, and that we're trying hard, you see, and because of the governance issues and all that, that are related to our politics and all that, you see. So those are the big hurdles, you see, and I hope if we can overcome those hurdles, we have, as Lawrence said, this is a country which is endowed with so many resources, and it's up to us how to utilize them, you see.
True that. You're right, sir. So, what about, like I mentioned in the question as well, the individual level water storage facilities that we can perhaps introduce in the country? It is an idea.
Yeah, this is absolutely true. You see, that the rainwater harvesting should be part of our town planning, you see, and even in the town planning, all the water running from the roads, you see, should be directed to somewhere, you see, where the storage facilities is available, you see, Second technical intervention can be the interjection of this water for underground water recharge, you see, I mean, you can build small kind of holes into the land or soil, you see, and fill it with, there is a technology, you see, and that water goes into the aquifer.
Right.
See,
I see.
Right.
So this is another, so you use underground reservoir as your reservoir of water, you see.
Somewhat like a Rothkohi system
absolutely,
right,
absolutely,
right,
yes, you see.
Right.
And slow dam, I mean, we have a technology where we slow down the water flow so that the water seep in as much as it can, you see.
Right, or like Kares in Balochistan.
Yes.
Kares is exactly.
Kares and all that. Do you belong to Balochistan?
No, I don't, but I have a good research on that.
Okay,
so, Ms. Florence, one last question. So, what sort of message you would like to give to the people out there? Because Ms. Coco talked about the globalization, and certainly the menace like climate change forces us as a humanity, we need to gather together under the one umbrella and fight this menace, because obviously we are moving past that tipping point. As United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres mentioned that we are approaching that boiling point, and that could not be reversed if we don't act now.
So my message to the audience is going to be, you take care of your Indus River basin.
Right.
It's your mother,
yes,
it's your father, and it's your life.
That's true. That's true. And also part of the identity, because the Indus water or the Indus civilization started from here, and it's time that we reclaim back that river, because it has much more than that. Dr. Malik Saab, we would also request you to please give out a message on the World Food Day, since you're the government representative, and food security is one of the essential components when we talk about human security.
Well, I think, I mean, Florence has already said that, and I endorse that, because water is life, and we have to take care of the water.
Yes.
And then, you know, we have been having everything so easily, you know, and water, we choose water like, you know, it has no value, you see, you know. So we should consider that and try to conserve the water and try to keep the water clean, you see. And that clean you can only keep if you use all the technologies for wastewater treatment and all that, and don't spoil the rivers and the ocean, you see. Karachi dumps everything into the ocean.
In the ocean, yes.
You know, the fisheries and all that is so much affected, you see. You know, so these are my humble requests to the public also, to the government. Well, for the time being, I am in the government. We will try to do everything, but it's with the help of the people we can do a lot, you see.
So thank you very much for giving us your time and being here, Ms. Florence. Thank you very much for being here and giving us your time. It was an absolute pleasure having you guys at the show.
Right.
Well,
and then we would like to conclude this program, because the theme of this program is that water is an essential component of the living life here, and water is life, water is food, and we need to make sure that we need to protect this, what do we call, say, a necessity, and make sure that it does not become a luxury in our future, that we are unable to afford that. So with that, we would say Allah Hafiz, goodbye, and until next time, it's a goodbye and good morning.